All right, we have a busy show tonight. A major missile barrage into Israel and a massive oil tanker has just exploded in the Persian Gulf. The video is incredible. How is Trump going to respond? Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Middle of the night in the Middle East, and Iran is lashing out big after the U.S. and Israel pounded the regime all week long. We've got a lot of new video to show you. This one from northern Israel, Hezbollah firing more than 100 rockets into northern Israel tonight, overwhelming the Iron Dome, we are told. We're still waiting to assess how that impacted northern Israel. And new video that's just coming in tonight. Look at that explosion on the screen, a massive explosion of at least one oil tanker ship. That's in the deep northern Persian Gulf, right near southern Iraq, right near Kuwait. This is nowhere near the Strait of Hormuz. So this is Iran really trying to escalate this. And this happened after earlier today, Iran had targeted 3 other oil tankers in the Persian Gulf and in the actual Strait of Hormuz. Some of the images of that right there. So what will this do? How will this change the equation? That's what we have to wait and see. How will the president respond to this tomorrow? We wait and see. The president in Cincinnati and northern Kentucky today is saying that that the reason that we are in Iran is to neutralize a threat to the United States and the world while we still have strong leadership in this country, while we still have the fortitude and ability to contain evil like Iran. Because, as he insinuated, God knows who could be running this country after he's gone.
There'll be some day when you don't have me as president. Perhaps you'll have a weak, pathetic person like we've had in the past, mostly all. Like Barack Hussein Obama, who signed one of the worst deals ever. Remember when he filled up a 757 with billions of dollars of cash and sent it to Iran? That's when I realized the presidency is very powerful. When you could put over $1 billion in an airplane and fly it over and give it to a foreign country that's your enemy. The Iran nuclear deal gave them the right to have a nuclear weapon as of 3 years ago. If I didn't terminate that deal, they would have had nuclear weapons, and this world would right now be a different place.
Different place. There's a lot of fury toward the president over this war coming from typically supportive voices. You've heard it. Yesterday, the media went ballistic with Joe Rogan's criticism, calling it a betrayal to Trump's base, calling it an insane war. The critics may need to consider, though, that just maybe this isn't another instance of U.S. military adventurism, which has, of course, been a problem in this country for a long time. Consider the evidence that this is justified. Trump makes a lot of good points when he talks about it. Iran is a terrorist nation that wants to destroy the West, wants to destroy the United States. They never stop aiming towards that, pushing towards that, no matter how hard we mow the lawn, chop them down. They tried to kill him twice, knowing he would be our next president. That's a fact that caught war critics like Tucker Carlson and Matt Walsh in big moments of hypocrisy in the last couple of weeks. The United States and the world will be tremendously safer and more prosperous when this regime in Iran is destroyed. Nobody can deny that. And Trump resisted the very powerful urge that we see in presidents to stretch our military's legs for 5 years. Even as he dumped so much of the budget into the military, he resisted using the military, choosing instead to end wars. That takes a lot of restraint when you have all that power. His critics should consider that maybe some fights are, though, fully justifiable, and not all wars are endless, and not all wars are gifts to the military-industrial complex. Trump telling Axios today this war will be over soon, saying there's really nothing left to target, and then saying this in Cincinnati just a couple hours ago.
Our military is unbelievable, the job they're doing. I would say, to put it mildly, way ahead of schedule. We've knocked out their Navy, their military in all forms. We've knocked out just about everything there is, including their leadership. Twice. We knocked out twice their leadership, and now they have a new group coming up. Let's see what happens to them. But 47 bad years we suffered with them, not only us, the rest of the world. And we're doing our job.
The military operation as we all know, is going well. We get the CENTCOM updates almost every day now, and it's impressive to see what we're able to do and how quickly we can decimate this regime in a country that has 90 million people, not a small country. But the economic vulnerability remains, of course. Iran's last line of defense is just destroying the world economy to try and end this war. Until we just say, Uncle, enough. All right, we'll let you be. Just help us get oil out of the Persian Gulf. These tanker attacks that we're seeing, including this video, this new video that seems to be just in the last maybe couple of hours out of the deep North Persian Gulf, will be a severe escalation. Not a surprise. Iran's regime spokesperson threatening to send oil prices to the moon.
You must understand that you will not be able to artificially lower the price of oil and energy. With the expansion of war in the region, we have announced that you should prepare for $200 per barrel.
All right, with that, Vice Admiral Robert Harward is a former Navy SEAL and Deputy Commander of CENTCOM. He also lived for years in Iran, which makes him a very interesting person to talk to. And, sir, thank you for coming on. We do appreciate it. I want to ask you the status of the war tonight, as it does appear that Iran, with all these Hezbollah rockets coming into Israel and now with the explosion of this cargo ship, this tanker, they are lashing out.
Rob, it's interesting when you talk about the status today, and it goes back to your opening line, why we're in this. Let's hypothesize a moment. Let's consider we did not position our forces. We did not strike. We did not have a 2-week campaign of destroying all their military force. And in a year from now, we did nothing. And they chose to act when we didn't have forces in the region and wreak terror on UAE, Qatar, Saudi, Kuwait. They would be gone today. So if anyone doubts why we needed to do this now, that's the hypothesis, much less having a nuclear weapon. What do you do then? So again, to where we are today, again, I do believe we've decimated a large portion of their capabilities. They're using what's left to wreak as much havoc. As we know, at the start of the war, we thought they had about 5,000 mines. I think most of that capacity was destroyed, as well as the boats. So we've got to stay on there and eradicate their ability to project power, and then we can do whatever we want to do with the regime.
My question is, though, because this obviously this is going to get responded to somehow by the administration, because this was what they just did. That explosion is massive. That is a tanker that is going to sink. That's going to be a lot of oil loss. That's going to do I don't know what to the oil markets and to the futures for crude. What can the president do, and what can the war secretary do to stop this? I mean, how in the near term? I mean, how do you prevent them from? They have these sneaky little places where they hide these things, and they go out and they do it. I mean, it's hard to get all of these guys. It's hard to neutralize this threat.
Well, that's what we're going to have to continue to do. We're going to have to destroy their ability to project power. We've said this for the last 2 weeks, and it's a tough problem. We've experienced since the first Gulf War, scud hunting was the term they used then. We're going to have to find these locations, especially the drones, and we'll have to see what this was attributed to, a cruise missile or a drone, what the capacity was, and we're going to have to destroy that. Until then, moving ships out of harm's way, oil tankers and other provided air defense that countries have and our ships possess to help defend and defeat this threat.
As far as ending the war and walking away, you know, I think most people that think thoughtfully about this realize that you can't walk away until this regime is decapitated completely, that it'll just start to grow again like a cancer, like anything else. Israeli officials have evidently said in closed discussions that they've claimed to see no certainty that Iran's government will fall despite this war, and they see no sign of an Iranian uprising at this time. How do you assess that, and how do you think this war can end in a way that, you know, is a victory for the United States?
Well, you're exactly right. The long game, so to speak, the end state. So after you eradicate their ability to project power, then you can focus on the regime, your capacity, your intelligence, just like we're doing on all the missile launches now. take that capacity and focus on the IRGC and the ideologically motivated folks, and using the local populace to help target that. For decades in Iran and Afghanistan, we've perfected the art of finding people, fixing them, and finish them. That's what we'll do here. And working with Israel and other like-minded countries in the region, we'll use all of those networks to identify those people and end this regime's reign of terror. So end of the war, armed conflict external to Iran will end when we can stop these missile launchers. But the conflict, and maybe not a war, but more police action of finding those who have blood on their hands and are blocking a government that the people of Iran are looking for, becomes the longer term issue. But then with no threat, time becomes less important.
No threat, time becomes less important. Yeah, how do you, we have to stabilize everything and stabilize the energy markets for sure in the economy, and then we can just take as long as we need to get what we need done. Vice Admiral Robert Harward, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Good to be with you.
All right. Brent Sadler is a retired U.S. Navy captain and maritime expert, and a good person to talk to when you've got ships exploding in the Gulf. Brent, good to see you. Iran hit multiple tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. We have this explosion that's just coming in now. How do you assess this, and what should be done?
Thanks for having me on. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on that are affecting the oil prices that have nothing to do with the actual kinetic fight that's going on. Insurance rates are one. We can perhaps talk about that a little bit more, but the location where this most recent attack occurred will matter because it will affect also the operations, but also the insurance rates that are starting to have a negative or downward suppressing effect on the maritime traffic through the Persian Gulf. Again, the mines have been coming up as the new threat now, but it's pretty clear because of the air campaign against the Iranian Navy, their ability to actually place the mines in a meaningful way operationally is pretty reduced. So I think we're in a case where you're going to get these spiking in oil prices because of the threat of attacks. Yeah. Despite what you're showing on the video right now, we're probably going to be turning the corner on that. It's going to be more of a long-term confidence in the market as new lines of production come on. You know, different pipelines moving oil through the Red Sea, for example, in Saudi Arabia, and other markets picking up production. And just to recall, before this war, OPEC had actually suppressed output. So not all the oil goes through the Persian Gulf, and that also will have a downward pressure on the price.
You make other places produce more. You figure out, obviously there's the Saudi pipeline that you can move some out to the western side of that country. You get the hell away from Iran, and I think that makes sense. Do you think there's a way for this administration to secure, though, this strait and to stabilize and to secure that strait to help stabilize the economy as this mission kind of turns into whatever it's going to be, which if it's going to be special ops, whatever it's going to be to try and get the rest of the regime out. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But if they want to fully eradicate this regime, that takes time. The war gets significantly smaller in size, less of the front page that it is right now. Can they actually secure that strait? Is that possible in the near term, or does Iran have too many secret weapons?
No, they don't have too many secret weapons. And Admiral Harward was kind of pointing to this a little bit. There's been long-standing plans in case the Iranians are acting on the threats that they're making about closing the Straits of Hormuz for many, many years. Practiced, trained, and analyzed. And so nothing is a surprise to the military on what's been unfolding. Perhaps the only surprise is the speed at which the Iranians' naval, air, and perhaps even their land side anti-ship missile batteries have been suppressed. But the threat's still there, to be clear. But there are plans, and there are a campaign to actually suppress these threats. So high confidence that operationally the straits are open. There's already been shipping going through there. It's just the ships now are turning off their tracking devices to make it a little harder for the Iranians to attack them. This is the pictures. You see the dots going back and forth.
Just stop
they magically disappear and then reappear on the other side.
Yeah, I just wonder how much is this going to shake up oil prices tomorrow, and what's it going to, I mean, when you see an explosion like that, if you got a boat, you know, I wouldn't want to go through there. Yeah.
You're going to see spikes, I think, in the next week or so, but I don't think this is long-term going to have highly elevated oil prices because the fundamentals are pointing back to a reduced oil price. But conflict, there's always going to be disruptions, and the disruptions cause price diversions, and I think we're just finishing that now.
Jump up, jump down, things like that. Brent Sadler, good to see you. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Demanding voter ID, Trump applies heavy pressure on the Senate Majority Leader to amend the filibuster and get the SAVE Act done, as Chuck Schumer again says the quiet part out loud.
It allows ICE to kick tens of billions of people off the rolls.
Plus, later in news from the left, why we love Gene Simmons.
Basically, shut the up. Do your art and shut up.
Healthcare is broken. America's health share is different. We believe healthcare should be aligned with your values, empowering individuals to direct their own care. Personalized preventative care with cutting-edge services, early detection, and root cause resolution. No skyrocketing premiums, no surprise bills, no financial uncertainty. This is not insurance. This is the health freedom model. Join us. Scan the QR code to get started.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there.
Wrap it up.
Come on, Dad. It's been forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
3, 2, 1.
I found Tunnel to Towers just through a TV commercial. I was like, oh, I wonder if they help out injured first responders. So when the Towers did reach out, it was awesome.
Men and women like Jay Youngblood, who served their country, are so deserving of their independence and the ability to take care of their children and provide for them. And that's what the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is doing when we give them a house.
Tunnel to Towers shows there's still humanity out there. Please donate $11 a month through t2t.org.
It is the Save America Act. It's the most popular bill I think I've ever put before Congress.
All right, so he's not letting this go, and that's a good thing. Trump's still pushing hard for the SAVE Act, saying he's going to sign nothing else until Senate Majority Leader John Thune steps up and actually makes this happen. Voter ID, citizenship, no mail-in ballots simply for convenience, and then you got the trans stuff and the no men and women's sports at the end there. We're focused on the top three. Chuck Schumer has been screaming Jim Crow 2.0 for about 2 months every single day since this idea's inception. Democrats are mortified of clean voter rolls and only citizens voting in this country. You can tell by the way they talk. Take a listen.
It allows ICE to kick tens of billions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore. This is outrageous. Undermine democracy, prevent people from voting in a democracy, and that's the only way you can win. That's not democracy, Donald Trump. That's autocracy. Letting you or Doge or Musk pick who's taken off the rolls.
88% of the country wants this. Every other sophisticated country in the world does this. So far, the Senate leader refuses, though. John Thune refuses to amend the 60-vote filibuster threshold to push this thing through. He's playing right into Chuck Schumer's hands, saying that essentially, well, what we know is that they're scared of Democrat retaliation when they take control of the Senate. That's why Thune doesn't want to do this. Trump and others have said many times, Democrats are going to kill the filibuster anyway. So you might as well do it for this and to protect the integrity of elections. Next week, we're going to see a vote on this in the Senate, though we're not sure how Thune is going to handle the procedure. That's what's still up in the air. The president applying more pressure today.
Well, he's got to be a leader, you know? He's a leader, he's got to get him.
Got to be a leader, got to get him. Scott Presler is the founder of earlyvoteaction.com, working tirelessly to get the SAVE Act passed after doing some fantastic work in the state of Pennsylvania, as we all remember, and getting a lot of praise from the president for his hard work on Truth Social this week. You can see right there the post. Scott, good to have you. Reportedly, 4 GOP senators are a no: McConnell, Murkowski, Tillis, John Curtis. What's your message to them and to the Senate leader, John Thune?
Thank you for having me back.
Sure.
My message is clear. President Trump is demanding of Congress to pass the Save America Act, which he, during the State of the Union, said was country-saving legislation. And I agree. I would also like to tell these members of Congress very respectfully that many members in the House and Senate right now would not be in the positions of leadership they are in if it were not for President Trump being on the ballot. So pass the Save America Act and be heroes and forever be remembered in the annals of American history for the most comprehensive election integrity legislation, or be responsible for managing the decline of what Republicans were given the majority in 2024 by a popular vote. This is their choice.
It's their choice. It's well said. Every Democrat and most of the members of the media say the same thing about this story every single time. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. This is just a scam to pull people off the rolls, to get less people to vote. They say that helps Republicans. What is your response to that? And tell us about the evidence that you have seen.
Thank you. Well, first, I want to talk about the video that you showed Senator Chuck Schumer. He just said the quiet part out loud. He said tens of millions will be removed from the voter rolls. Well, let's get into this for a second. I want to clear up any confusion when it comes to the Save America Act, which is the Safeguard America Voter Eligibility Act. What that will do is it will employ the SAVE system, which is the systematic alien verification for entitlements. No registered voter that is currently registered to vote will have to re-register under the Save America Act. What will happen is the people that are already registered will go through the SAVE system, and any legal, lawful American with a Social Security number that is legal and lawful will stay on the voter rolls. What Senator Chuck Schumer just said, basically, is there are tens of millions of illegal aliens or non-citizens on the voter rolls that he is petrified from being removed. In Pennsylvania, Mahadi Sacco, U.S. Attorney David Metcalf of Philadelphia showed an illegal alien registered in 2005 that has voted in the last 5 presidential elections in Pennsylvania. I looked this person up. They are actively registered as a Democrat in Philadelphia. Anthony Ferlini in Michigan, Macomb County, exposed that illegal aliens, non-citizens, are on the voter rolls and voting in Michigan. And Stephen Heat, Maricopa County Recorder, exposed that illegal aliens are on the voter rolls and voting in Arizona. This is not one instance of this happening. This is in multiple states across the nation, and that's why Democrats don't want to pass it. It's time to pass the Save America Act.
Those are a few examples. I'm wondering how widespread it is, and I also wonder about mail-in ballots and how much fraud you see coming from that. I'm trying to figure out, because people want to see that it's happening hundreds and thousands of times, enough that could actually change an election.
Well, let's get into that for a second. We exposed, after the great work of Nick Shirley in the state of Minnesota, about vouching. One registered Minnesota voter can vouch for up to 8 individuals. So let me make a pitch to anyone who thinks that this can't make a statewide difference. Did you know that in 2008, on Election Day, 19.5% of total voters in Minnesota registered to vote on Election Day? Did you know that Senator Al Franken won his election in 2008 for the United States Senate by 312 votes? And did you know that in the 2024 election, 737 people registered to vote because of vouching on Election Day? Is it possible that because of vouching alone, people could be registered without proof of citizenship, without proof of residence, without proof of voter ID, and vote ballots without actually being lawful Minnesota voters? Yes, the data shows it.
Especially in a place that, as we've seen, is as crooked as Minneapolis has become.
Amen.
Scott Presler, we appreciate you. Thanks for the hard work. Good to see you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. All right, coming up, Starbucks founder Howard Schultz flees Seattle as a new wealth tax moves through the state house in Washington. Coming up, Democrats in for a rude awakening. They'll soon realize higher taxes are bringing in less revenue.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dry premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
Doctors' preferred liver defense is doctor developed to support your natural detox function with clinically validated, triple tested key ingredients to energize and renew your liver. Find liver defense in the supplement aisle at Walmart. Doctors' preferred. Better science, better results.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell it all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet and exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Pump up the volume. Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Welcome back. All the money moving to Florida indicates a very harsh reality for blue state Democrats, that they have finally crossed the threshold where there's no more money that they can possibly extract to grow these governments bigger. They've arrived at a very familiar point on the Laffer curve. You see it right there, where increasing taxes actually leads to less revenue. Capital flight is what it's called. A prime example, Washington State's millionaires tax has cleared the House. An income tax 10% on earnings over $1 million. The 20,000 wealthiest people in the state will now be punished even further in a state that already has explosively high taxes. Again, you get to that point on the curve, you add more higher taxes, and the money goes down because the money just leaves. Great video of local and state politicians. Look how excited these goons are as they're hugging and embracing all of these losers that couldn't make it in the private sector. Can't wait to tax those evil rich people. Take a listen.
We are asking the 21,000 wealthiest Washingtonians, that's 0.25% of Washingtonians, who are doing the very best financially of any of us, who currently pay far less to support our shared needs than the poorest among us do, to chip in.
Chip in just a little more. Says the nerd that can't figure out a way to make 50 grand a year. But they should expect that the final total is going to be far lighter than they anticipate with all of their estimations of how much money they're going to be able to pull out of society. Hours after the bill was passed, Starbucks founder Howard Schultz announced he's going to Miami. Starbucks, one of, if not the biggest company in the state. He's out. After 44 years of living in Seattle, he's gone. And taking one of the most popular coffee chains in the world, probably the most popular coffee chain in the world, with him. He's slowly moving Starbucks corporate to Tennessee. You see how it works? Jason Rantz, the host of the Jason Rantz Show. Mercedes Schlapp, also with us tonight. Good to have you here. Jason, Florida is going to run out of mansions here pretty soon if this continues. Blue states sending all their wealth to red states as they try to tax it, and they're in for a rude awakening.
They are, but the voters here are in for a bigger rude awakening. What's so funny here is Democrats want to pretend that this is just about going after the millionaires because they call it the millionaires tax. But the reality is it is unconstitutional. Under Washington state constitution, you're not allowed to tax property unless it's uniform, and income is considered property. But the way that they wrote this was intended to get to the Supreme Court so they would overturn nearly a 100-year precedent declaring that the income that you have is property. They want to get rid of that because the end goal is an income tax across the state for everyone. Whoa. And this is just that entryway to get to that point. And we know that this was the reality because when given the opportunity for an amendment for only for millionaires, they said no.
Yeah, because your state doesn't, to its credit, it doesn't have an income tax, but you tax people in many other ways besides income. You have a lot of very heavy taxes in your state that make up for an income tax. But wouldn't they just love, Mercy, to tack that on? I mean, anywhere they can. I mean, think of all the taxes that we pay in this ridiculous society. Yeah. They'd love to juice it up a little further.
Well, the Democrats want to tax you to death, okay?
Yes.
That's seriously what we're looking at here. And they get very creative in all these different states. So you've got California with their own ballot initiative where it's a wealth tax, this one-time tax on billionaires, that it's not just on income, it's on private businesses, it's on stock holdings, it's on real estate, financial assets, the list goes on and on. So what do the California billionaires do? They get the heck out of California and they're moving to red states like Texas, like Tennessee, like Florida. We're seeing this dynamic happening across the board here in Virginia. I'll tell you, we have this new, really awful liberal Democrat governor who's taxing through services. So for grooming services for dogs, Uber rides, etc. Their goal is to continue to recklessly spend taxpayer dollars and in essence continue to basically grow their budget deficits as well. There's never enough money for the Democrats when it comes to state governments.
Never enough, and we're seeing indications in a lot of places like New York. You see the pushback from Hochul. You're clearly seeing it in California. You know, Jason, that there's that point on the curve where we've gotten to that point where people say, you know what? I live in a country that has 50 states, and a lot of those states are way cheaper than this one. I mean, if you're a millionaire, if you go to Florida, you could be saving hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in taxes. It could pay for your mortgage. Just to move to another state. Why stay? And when are these politicians going to wake up and realize that you just can't tax your way to prosperity?
The only time they realize it is when they're booted from office. And that's the reality of this. People actually have to vote. They have to feel some pain before they decide to move in a different direction. And I keep thinking that Washington state, in particular Seattle, that we've hit rock bottom only to see voters put back in place the same politicians or like-minded politicians. So we clearly haven't hit that pain factor yet. I wish that weren't the case. I wish we didn't have to get to that point, but it seems like it's inevitable.
Isn't that the most, that's the worst thing, Mercy, is that, I mean, I think about how bad New York had to get in the 90s before we gave Giuliani to the people. And it's the same thing as other places. They have to literally collapse the state before these morons that vote Democrat down the line every time, no matter the situation they're in, will finally break out of their shell.
Well, and that's why, as Scott Presler said, it is time now to pass the SAVE Act. I mean, we need to ensure that only People who are legal, who are citizens in this country, can vote. That is critical. I hate to say it. I mean, when you're looking at the fact that in states like California, where there's ballot harvesting, where you've seen, certain cases of election fraud, it's very hard for Republicans to win in these blue states, in these blue cities. And yes, it might take, for the city to break down or the state to break down, but goodness gracious, as we're seeing one state topple after another, it's really hard for the Republicans to win it back.
So true. Got to leave it there. Jason Rantz, Mercedes Schlapp. Good to see you. Good luck up there, Jason.
See you.
All right.
Thank you.
Isn't it weird how the Gaza freaks couldn't care less about Iranians tortured and killed by an Islamic regime? We're going to diagnose why that is next.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Right now, sirens are sounding from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. All across Israel, hundreds of missiles and drones from Iran are striking civilians in desperate need of food, life-saving mobile bomb shelters, and emergency supplies. Many families are trapped underground, unable to leave without risking their lives. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has emergency teams working where the danger is greatest, but critical supplies are running out. Please respond with an emergency gift of $45 now. Your $45 will help provide a one-week emergency food box and resupply trauma bags for first responders in the line of fire tonight. In this critical hour, Christians and Jews can stand shoulder to shoulder against the evil regime in Iran. But there is no time to delay. Give $45 now. Call the number on your screen, scan the QR code, and stand with Israel now.
Millions of Americans rely on a statin to reduce cholesterol, but statins can deplete CoQ10 levels. I recommend Cunol CoQ10 with 3 times better absorption and the #1 cardiologist recommended form. It helps replenish what statins deplete. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Just in time for our country's big celebration, the Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday is here, and it's free. Give your kids this epic story of freedom, heroes, and fireworks. Get it at freeusagift.com. That's freeusagift.com.
You notice that the Gaza freaks that have been screaming and causing chaos over the war in Gaza for the last 2 years have not really said a word about Iran, or didn't say a word when Iran murdered 30,000 of its own people. There's no stop the genocide protests over Iran. There's no death to the IRGC chants at concert. Where's Bob Villain? He thinks the IDF all need to die. What about the regime loyalists that killed 30,000 innocent people? As CapX puts it, Hollywood's activist class is silent on Iran. Greta Thunberg is not sailing her eco-friendly boat to Iran's shores, nor from Javier Bardem, Angelina Jolie, Mark Ruffalo using their platforms to amplify oppressed Iranian voices. They couldn't care less about these people that have been downtrodden and oppressed for 47 years and then killed when they try to rise up. In 2023, Megan Rapinoe went ballistic over Gaza, even promoting a fundraiser to raise money for the children in Gaza, which of course was money that was stolen by Hamas. Fast forward to today, and even when it's other soccer players, Rapinoe won't even support her fellow Iranian women's soccer players who are currently facing punishment, maybe even will be killed after initially refusing to sing the anthem of the Iranian regime at a recent soccer game. So why is this? Why is there such silence on this? And it's deafening, isn't it? Well, it's simple, because the villain is not useful to the Marxist agenda. And all the people that we're talking about, at the end of the day, they are anti-American, anti-West Marxists. But the villain here is not the United States. It's not Israel. It's not the Greater West. The bad guys are Iran, the regime, a regime that also hates the United States like they do. So American Marxists, Western Marxists, are being very quiet on this. Greta Thunberg, all these people, they're not going to say anything about this because in this case, they share a common enemy with the bad guy. So why would you attack the oppressor, the bad guy in this case? Andrew Klavan and Josh Hammer join us now. Good to have you guys here. Andrew, start with you. It's something to see how silent these loud voices get when the oppressor is not somebody that they hate.
Yeah, well, you put it exactly right. I mean, the target is always not just Israel, not just America, but the Western civilization that we most powerfully represent. Socialism, as they will not teach you in an Ivy League school, is an inherently authoritarian philosophy. It means that the people at the top are managing your money, which is your time and your work. So they're taking control of your life, essentially. And there's a reason people like George Soros, who are, authoritarians at heart, hate America and call us, the big problem in the world. So as you say, when they can strike at America, whether it's by supporting Hamas, which is Iran, or by not attacking Iran, which is Iran, they're happy to do it as long as they're striking at us. The system they want to bring down is the free market and individual freedom promoting system of America and the West. And that's, wherever it's represented, they will go after it. And wherever that's not the target, they won't do it.
And Josh, somebody needs to remind these people of just how terrible they are for ignoring all of this. I hope there's enough people making that noise, because these are awful, atrocious people to make all that noise over Gaza and then say nothing about this.
Yeah, Rob, no doubt about that. Look, Andrew made a lot of compelling points, unsurprisingly. I guess I would just add two more. One is that there's this popular refrain on social media we see where they say, no Jews, no news. And that is definitely what we see here. It seems that when there are no Jews involved in either end of the killing, either as the killer or the killee, these people tend to be rather conspicuously silent. The other thing I will say, though, perhaps a bit provocatively, is this, which is that I think when we say that these folks are indifferent about what is happening in Iran, I think, if anything, we're actually being a little too charitable. I think, frankly, there are a lot of folks who actually are legitimately on the side of the regime. This is a very old trend in leftist political thought. We can literally go back at least as far as the French Revolution and the origins of our modern left-right divide itself. The original left back then, the Jacobins, Robespierre, the Reign of Terror, they were cheering on murderous violence. As the late, great David Horowitz said, inside every progressive is a totalitarian waiting to get out. They have found themselves on the wrong side of mass slaughters for hundreds and hundreds of years. They were cheering on the killing fields of Pol Pot in Cambodia, the killing fields of Mao Zedong, the killing gulags of Stalin there. So I think that there are many folks who are actively cheering on the slaughter in Iran, actually. And a lot of this comes back philosophically to this red-green alliance, for which Zohar Mamdani is kind of the singular encapsulation of the Marxists and the Islamists there. But as Andrew said, ultimately really does boil down to this fundamental hatred of Western civilization, of which the Jews are merely a useful proxy.
That's very well said. And Andrew, it's awfully scary that a lot of the things that Josh just mentioned, the atrocities of the past that came from the far left, a lot of that stuff is not being taught anymore. And so we are just bound to make these mistakes again. And that's why you have so many young people that buy into this nonsense.
Yeah, they're producing purposely useful idiots. That is what they're doing. Exactly. And you can tell they're idiots when they come out and say things like, gays for Palestine and women for Palestine, gays who are would be killed by the Palestinians and women who would be enslaved by them. And they're supporting that. They're obviously educated for ignorance.
Yeah. Josh, final word. Go ahead.
Look, Rob, I guess I'll go back to your point, which is that these people need to learn a lesson. They ultimately have to pay for their crimes, their rhetorical crimes, their substantive crimes. They're just utter wrong-headed and deeply insidious way of thinking there. And that's going to come on the back end when it comes to employers. I want to see law firms, banks refuse to hire these people there. If you are out there calling for the obliteration of the United States of America, if you actually believe, as groups like Columbia University, Apartheid, and Divest believe, that Iranian drones smacking civilians are a good thing there, you should be blacklisted. You should not be hired there. I'm sorry. If you were in your 20s, you're an adult there. You should pay for what you have said. There have to be repercussions for these sort of actions.
We need to build an island for these people and deport, even if they're American citizens. We got to get them the hell out of this society because it's a very, very twisted ideology that they believe. We had in New York last week, they had a kind of a funeral procession for the Ayatollah. They had a memorial for him in Washington Square Park, right there in the heart of the village. I mean, the Ayatollah. Good God. Andrew Klavan, Josh Hammer, good to see you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
Good to see you, Rob. Thanks.
Lame excuse by the woke to erase Winston Churchill from the UK's currency. Next.
David trusts Prevagen for his brain, and this is his story.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years. When I have customers come in, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription. And I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really works so good for me. Makes my day.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
What can $34 get you these days? It could send you overseas, drop you in your ancestral village, and give you a taste of your heritage passed down through the generations. It can open a whole new world of faraway places and fascinating people that make you who you are today. That's a big adventure for a small price.
Your data is like a single domino. The moment it's stolen, it starts a chain reaction that puts the information that guards your assets at risk. 1 in 3 Americans have been a victim of identity theft. Are you willing to risk it?
When I saw zeros on that screen as my bank account balance, I went to immediate panic.
$21,000 just gone. I opened my account and $30,000 is missing. Like $30,000. I have no idea what to do.
If your personal information is stolen, are you prepared to pick up the pieces alone? LifeLock is the leader in identity theft protection and restoration.
Once LifeLock got involved, everything changed.
With LifeLock, if your identity is stolen, they'll step in and fix it so you don't have to, guaranteed. Our highly trained U.S.-based restoration specialists contact institutions, dispute fraudulent charges, close compromised accounts, and even procure legal support far beyond the capabilities of your bank or credit card company.
LifeLock pursued this case further than I ever would have imagined.
If you call right now, you'll get LifeLock for just $9.99 a month for your first year. And as extra protection, all LifeLock memberships include the $1 Million Protection Package. Our members receive reimbursement for stolen funds and personal expenses, like lost wages, as well as coverage for lawyers and experts up to $3 million in total.
When the bank refused to reimburse my stolen money, the $1 Million Protection Package came through for me.
Our Restoration Guarantee and $1 Million Protection Package are included in all memberships with no additional fees.
I think it's natural to think that you can do this on your own. You can't. You need an expert in your corner.
Call 800-710-7531 and use promo code 35SAVE or go to lifelock.com/35SAVE to join today. Call 800-710-7531.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. The stinky frat guy, Eric Swalwell, wants to be the governor of California, and he's on television as much as he possibly can. His latest, a press conference to brag about a very obvious political stunt when he sent one of his staffers all the way to Colombia to bring a hearing aid to a boy who was deported with his mother.
As we stand here, my staff has just landed in Colombia.
and is placing the hearing devices back in the boy's ear. He was able to do that with the help of the community who rallied to get his devices and personal belongings. What happened here was not about public safety. How does ruining the life of a 6-year-old deaf child make our community or our country any safer? It doesn't. It makes the country darker.
If you know anything about Swalwell, he probably stole the hearing aid before he gave it back to the kid. From DHS, parents are given a choice. They can be removed with their children or place them with a safe person they designate, saying in this case, the mother chose to be removed with her child. Remember, they dumped 20 million people into your country, and they will not stop at anything to convince you to let them stay and give them your money so they can replace your vote with theirs. Next up, more evidence of the suicide of England. Local school council in the UK warning that children's drawings could be considered blasphemous under Islamic law. Why do they care about Islamic law in the UK? That's a great question. Also, music and dance lessons could violate Islamic teachings as well. Labour councils informing teachers in Northern England that the images made by pupils in art lessons may be seen as idolatrous under Sharia. Music and dance classes could be contrary to the teachings of Islam as well. Poster style page cover from the UK school guidance looks like this. Absolutely falling all over themselves to pander to the people that they dumped into the United Kingdom. Just such vile behavior from the government of a once great nation. Next up from the same neighborhood, iconic British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, the hero of the Second World War, and woke fools replacing him on the €5 banknote by the Bank of England, the first major redesign in 50 years. The next set of banknotes will feature wildlife, they say. The bank's saying the change of wildlife imagery to wildlife imagery creates an opportunity to celebrate another aspect of the nation, and the public will be given a chance to pick which elements of nature they will feature. Indications Churchill might be replaced by an otter. A pathetic excuse to delete more history of, yet again, a once great nation. Next up, Dr. Jill Biden announcing she's going to be releasing a memoir of her White House tenure in June. Yes, a memoir from Dr. Jill. Why on earth would anybody possibly care about the woman that tried to drag her husband through a second term as he was collapsing? I don't know, but it'll be titled View from the East Wing, which, by the way, was destroyed by the president in recent months to reel the ballroom. So there is no more East Wing right now. Take a listen to Dr. Jill, just to remember who she is.
With faith in each other, anything is possible. So say it with me. Si se puede. The future is ours. Thank you.
Si se puede. You try to give her one damn sentence in Spanish because Joe Biden is dumping in the polls with Hispanics, and she butchered it about as bad as anybody possibly could. Si se puede, Dr. Jill. Hope you can sell 4 books. And finally, Kiss legend Gene Simmons speaking with TMZ, reminding us why we love him, scorching celebrities who won't shut up about politics.
Basically, shut the up. Do your art and shut up. Nobody's interested in your opinions. Who the do you think you are? People in America work hard for their living, and they don't want to be lectured to by people who live in mansions and drive Rolls Royces. It's time for everybody in the entertainment industry to shut their pie hole. What will Mark Ruffalo, however the he pronounces his name, what does Mark think about politics? I don't care.
I mean, how do you not love him? Gene Simmons, good stuff. Up next, an iconic Trump rant from today on Obama and Biden that you'll love.
Closed captioning brought to you by Magnolife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about Magnolife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago.
Now, LifeVac is responsible for saving thousands of lives from choking.
In the time it takes you to pick up the phone and call, another life could be saved.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1 to 2 seconds.
Protecting families has always been our mission. I'm sure you love your family like I love my daughter. Do us all a favor and get your own LifeVac now.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822. Order now.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, Not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, owner of the company that sells an incredible nutritional supplement called Amino 150. I'm celebrating my 92nd birthday in excellent health and condition because I've been consuming 70 minerals and 80 other nutrients found in Amino 150. I don't have arthritis, diabetes, heart problems, dementia, or anything else. My blood pressure averages 119/72. My PSA is 0.00. I can still run, jump, and climb a ladder, dance for hours, or do anything else I want to do. Now, if you want to live a ripe old age and still have all of your marbles and muscles, you should try Amino 150. Regardless of your age, chances are you're not in excellent health because you lack many minerals in your diet. Now, don't hesitate any longer. Try Amino 150 so you can surprise your doctor the next time you get a physical. This incredible food supplement may be the best supplement in the world. Thank you and God bless.
Get ready for spring now at Blue Compass RV with RV show prices at over 100 locations coast to coast. Forest River Auroras from $98 a month. Alliance Delta Solos from $198 a month. Or Jayco Greyhawks from $744 a month. Save on the largest selection of America's premium brands with RV show prices on over 15,000 new and used RVs. Hurry to Blue Compass RV. Shop online or in store today.
Finally tonight, a twofer from Trump today in Kentucky, getting Obama and Biden with one shot.
The only thing I admired about Barack Hussein Obama, the only thing is the way he bobbed down. Remember, he'd bob. Hey, you talk about unpresidential, but Biden was the opposite. Biden couldn't even walk up the stairs. He fell 3 times walking up or when he fell at the Air Force Academy, right? And the general was standing there, could have caught him, but he didn't want to drop the paper that he's holding in his hand. So Biden went down for the count.
That's good.
I mean, he got 2 with one line. That we were cracking up watching that one.
You know what? I don't know if you could roll that again, but I didn't notice that. Only Trump would notice that he was actually holding something in his hand. I've watched that 5,000 times. I've never actually noticed the guy was like, geez, I've got a document here. Let the president fall.
He notices stuff. You say you watched it 5,000 times. He probably watched it 10.
Yeah, exactly.
You know he loved that one.
Rob, good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, it's Wednesday night. I got 2 more.
All right. Make sure you watch Finity, Rob, when you get home. Watch Finity. All right. Thanks, Rob. Finity starts now.
See you.